Drones have hit two Saudi Aramco oil facilities, triggering large explosions. Yemen's Houthi rebels have claimed responsibility. The attacks come just days after the kingdom said the state-owned oil giant's much-anticipated stock listing would happen very soon. Saudi Arabia's Interior Ministry says one attack happened at the Aramco site at Abqaiq in the country's eastern province. The company says the Abqaiq processing plant is the largest crude oil stabilization plant in the world. It's estimated it can process up to 7 million barrels of crude oil a day. The other attack was at Khurais, about 150 kilometers northeast of Riyadh. The fires are said to be contained.
The U.S. Treasury Department placed sanctions on 3 hacking groups controlled by North Korea for their part in major global cyber attacks. This comes ahead of possible Pyongyang-Washington nuclear talks later this month. So how would the move affect the direction of the negotiations?
The U.S. Treasury Department has placed sanctions on North Korean hackers who it holds responsible for major global cyber attacks. In a statement on Friday local time, the Treasury Department announced the action against the group known as the Lazarus Group, along with 2 of its subgroups. They're controlled by the North's primary intelligence bureau, which has already been placed under sanctions by the U.S. and a UN Security Council. These groups are accused of organizing the 2017 WannaCry ransomware attack, as well as other cyber attacks on international organizations. According to the departments, Lazarus Group targets government, military, financial, and entertainment-related institutions using tactics such as cyber espionage, data theft, and destructive malware operations.
The White House has confirmed that Hamza bin Laden, that's the son of Osama bin Laden, has been killed in a U.S. counterterrorism operation. A White House statement said that the loss of Hamza bin Laden not only deprives al-Qaeda of important leadership skills and the symbolic connection to his father, but undermines important operational activities of the group.
We have known for the last 2 months that Hamza bin Laden was suspected to have been killed. NBC actually broke that line back in July, and while there was no official confirmation or official public statement from the White House, sources off the record were indicating that that was what was believed. Also, the timing of the death, that hasn't yet been confirmed. It's understood that it happened in the first 2 years of the Trump presidency, so that would be kind of 2017, 2018. So this isn't a recent development.
Well, we're hearing that a senior member of the RCMP has been charged and arrested, accused of charges under the Securities of Information Act. Now, that is the act in Canada that covers secret sharing. It deals with national security concerns and espionage. Now, what we know about this person is that they're a civilian member of the RCMP. They're what's known as a Director General, and they have been charged with 3 accounts under this act, the Securities Act, and a few criminal code violations as well. Now, what we're waiting to still find out is exactly what this person is accused of. We know that they have been arrested and charged, which is quite rare. You don't hear a lot of charges under this act.
A show of military might for the rest of the continent to see. Venezuela has again deployed its army along the border with Colombia this week for war games, increasing tensions between the 2 troubled nations. But those studying Venezuelan military say this is mostly posturing for political effect from an increasingly unprofessional force.
Well, the Venezuelan military is quite a politicized force, right? You are promoted because of loyalty to the government, and its military professionalism has suffered drastically. The patronage element is visible in the fact that they have 2,000 generals. That is more than all the countries of NATO combined.
Joachim Kleinschmidt has been researching Venezuela's armed forces and their relationship with their ally Russia. He says that when commodity prices were high, the oil-rich country bought some impressive pieces of equipment, such as 24 state-of-the-art Sukhoi jets, but received little training on how to use them.
The sentencing for the former high school cheerleader who was found not guilty of killing her newborn daughter after burying her in her backyard. But today she was sentenced on a lesser charge, the judge accusing her of a grotesque disregard for life. But she'll now go free.
Despite the anguish of a would-be grandmother, she had a way out. Tonight, a judge sentencing 20-year-old Brooke Richardson to no additional jail time for burying her baby in her family's backyard.
I can sometimes be selfish, but I would like to think that I've become better.
The former Ohio cheerleader pleading for leniency after she was found guilty of abuse of a corpse. Thursday, she was sobbing after being acquitted on murder charges. Just 2 days after her senior prom, Richardson says she gave birth at home alone, but claims that baby girl she named Annabelle was stillborn.
Did you ever hear a cry or a whimper?
But prosecutors alleged she didn't want to be a teen mom and that the baby was born alive and buried without Richardson ever telling anyone she gave birth.
President Trump appears to be backing off the hard line he took earlier this week on vaping and e-cigarettes. Okay, so last night, the president tweeted this: "While I like the vaping alternative to cigarettes, we need to make sure this alternative is safe for all. Let's get counterfeits off the market and keep young children from vaping."
Well, on Wednesday, Trump said he wanted to ban all flavored e-cigarettes, including mint and menthol, and that the FDA was working on plans to do just that.
If you've been following the vaping story, you realize that there's sort of two separate but related stories going on at the same time. With regard to the news out of the White House this week, this was really about addressing the flavorings in these products, the concern being that those flavorings, target children, and that children are more likely to vape. And we see the numbers, you showed the numbers, 2017, around 12% of kids vaping, and now you got closer to 27.5% of these kids that are vaping.
Well, hello and welcome to the programme. We're starting in Spain, where devastating floods have killed at least 5 people, forcing hundreds more to be evacuated from their homes. After days of torrential downpours and gale-force winds, they have battered the country's southeast coast, with some areas still waiting for that weather to let up. Let's just show you on a map the most effective regions you can see here. We're talking Valencia, Alicante, Murcia and Almería there. These are the regions that have been hit the hardest, in fact, Valencia was under a red alert for most of Friday, with emergency services still trying to deal with the impact of these floods. As Manu Terreraros reports.
Roads and airports are closed as search and rescue teams cleared the area after record-breaking heavy rains lashed the southeast of the country. Alicante, Valencia, Almería and Murcia are the worst affected areas, with thousands evacuated. The floods in urban and agricultural areas have washed away vehicles and devastated crops. Destruction is widespread and the cost of repair will be significant.
Breaking news late today, actress Felicity Huffman sentenced to 14 days in prison for the college cheating scandal. The former Desperate Housewives actress had pleaded guilty after paying a proctor to correct her daughter Sophia's SAT score. In court today, she offered a tearful apology for her wrongdoing and her betrayal, especially to her daughter. Huffman had asked for probation, but the judge sentenced her to prison time and explained why.
Felicity Huffman walking hand in hand with her husband out of a Boston courthouse just moments after being sentenced to 14 days in prison for her role in that massive college admissions scandal.
Is prison the right sentence?
Inside, prosecutors arguing for a month behind bars, adding a message must be sent for the next Felicity Huffman.
The judge made it clear that she wants to send a message. Just because you've got money and you've got privilege, it doesn't mean that you can get away with something like this.
tropical cyclone carrying heavy rain and strong winds is nearing the already devastated Bahamas, threatening to complicate Hurricane Dorian recovery efforts. Antonio Guterres, the Secretary General of the United Nations, visited the area to see for himself the extent of the damage and the ongoing relief efforts for the people that have been affected so far.
The financial cost of the damage caused by Dorian is not clear, but it will be in the billions of dollars, and the Bahamas cannot be expected to foot this bill alone. These new large-scale climate-related disasters demand a new multilateral response. Climate financing is one element.
Bahamian Prime Minister Hubert Minnis said earlier this week that the official death toll stood at 50, but was expected to rise. Tropical Cyclone 9 was not expected to bring anywhere near the devastation of Dorian, even if it does strengthen into a depression or storm.